Bring Me the Horizon have a new interview out over at NME covering a wide range of topics about their new album Ammo, which will be released shortly. They've also got a new single out titled Medicine, which was slightly controversial among some fans who are more supportive of their heavier sounds, but nonetheless, the song was really well received, very well written, and very catchy. But anyways, in this new interview, Oli Sykes made some eyebrow-raising comments about the current state of the rock scene. Understandably, the rock scene definitely has its challenges, but it's what he said about the rock scene for the last 30 years, which is kind of ironic. He said that there hasn't been an icon come out of the rock scene in the last 30 years. So as to say that Dave Grohl, Chris Cornell, Kurt Cobain, Chester Bennington, the list just goes on and on. Here's what the interview had to say. Clearly riled by over a decade of falling short of rock snobs when wanting to flex their other creative muscles, Sykes goes off on one. Quote, "That's why we really just feel such a disconnect with the rock scene, because there hasn't been an icon in the rock scene for 30 years. Do you know what I mean? Who's the last great icon? It's all Metallica and Black Sabbath. The bands that are headlining are all bands that came out 20 years ago. Rock hasn't produced a legend in decades, and every other genre has." He continues saying, "There is an unwillingness to move out and to not be parodies of themselves, to not be covered in blood, horns, and screaming. You don't have to be, quote, rock. To be true and be pure, you have to follow these very small and limiting rules. For us, how could we survive? It's not inclusive. The scene doesn't like it when a band gets big. It's like something is being stolen from them. There came a time for our band where we just couldn't entertain that world anymore. It's just hard to imagine that overwhelmingly successful bands like Linkin Park that have gone diamond. You have a band in 2018 like Bad Wolves that also went diamond. Bands that are headlining stadiums are not rising to the level of iconic. Bands like Soundgarden, Dave Grohl, for crying out loud, or the Foo Fighters. It's just slightly off base. Not to say that rock music doesn't have its challenges. He is 100% on the money when he says that people act like something's being stolen from them when a band is successful. You should always support people when they're becoming successful. That's why we need to be supportive of bands like Greta Van Fleet that are doing big things for rock music. We need to support them. We need to get behind them, especially when they're doing all the right things, and that's what that band is doing. But anyhow, it's not really fair to say, not even close to being fair to say, that there hasn't been an icon coming out of the rock scene for 30 years. This is not the first time that Oli Sykes has spoke out about the current state of rock music either. In a recent interview with the Pulse of Radio, this story came out back on December 8th, so a little over a month ago. He talks about how the current rock scene is soft, miserable, and boring. In the interview, he said, "Rappers are almost the new rock and roll or punk or whatever. Rock's gone soft. It's gone miserable and boring. There's not really much exciting about it, so it's important that we cross over because we feel like we belong more in a place where people just like music and it's not about how heavy it is." Now, there's an interesting point to be made here. They have every right to cross over and go into new territory and into new genres. They have every right to do that, and they should do that because the songs they've released have been very good. Their album is going to be good, and you should still support Bring Me the Horizon. Everything he's saying about people turning their backs on the band because what they're not releasing is heavy is true, and I can understand how that would make you resentful of the band. But at the same time, you can't paint a genre with a broad brush saying it's gone soft. Basically, it comes off, and it's probably not intended that way, but it comes off when you're departing your previous heavier sound, you're taking pot shots at it, and you're just not separating yourself from that sound on good terms. You know, some gratitude would be welcomed in this situation. You know, these sort of things with interviews, you can say things in the moment that you don't entirely mean, so you got to give this guy the benefit of the doubt here as well. But he said this in 2 interviews about rock music. It's just not really fair to negate the overwhelming success that artists like Linkin Park have had, and Soundgarden, Foo Fighters, Nirvana over the last 30 years. Those are undoubtedly, undisputed, iconic figures. There's just no counter argument that could be made about that. So anyways, you can check out that full interview. They cover a wide range of topics. We've linked to it in the description. Their album will be dropping in a few weeks. You should definitely check it out. There's some bangers on there. Mantra is a great song. And also Medicine, great tune as well. Exciting times for the rock scene per se this year, regardless of whether or not Bring Me the Horizon is intent on being a part of it or not. Anyways, thanks as always for joining us here. Check out these recommended videos, and you can subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss out on breaking hard rock and heavy metal news. Thanks as always for joining us here, and we'll see you all very soon.